welcome in to Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. I'm Jonathan Hood. Don't forget to check out our YouTube page, youtube.com. Look for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. The subscriptions are moving quickly. I'm really happy that everyone's starting to lock into our YouTube page for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. And, of course, the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Tell someone, hey, if you're listening, share it with people. Let them know that Jonathan Hood Talks Wrestling, Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. So glad you're with us here. As you can hear from the intro, we're going to have our special guest here on TWT, Jeff Jarrett, the WWE Hall of Famer, part of the My World podcast that he does with Conrad Thompson. Jeff Jarrett is part of Game Changer Wrestling, and that's going to take place at the Grand Sports Arena in Hoffman Estates coming up this weekend. We're going to talk to Jeff about that and some of the new ventures that he's starting to go into. Is Jeff Jarrett making a comeback at age 54? Well, we're going to talk to Jeff about that and so much more right here on this edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. If you missed some of our previous episodes, check out the archives of TWT. And don't forget the YouTube page that I mentioned, youtube.com. And our merchandise as well. Man, thank you so much for supporting the merchandise page. It's in my link tree on my bio, whether that's on Facebook, whether that is on Twitter or Instagram. You click it and look for the Under the Hood show merchandise. We've got plenty of, sweatshirts, T-shirts, mugs, tumblers, whatever you want is all there. Check out the Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday merchandise there on the Under the Hood podcast page. All right, let's talk to Jeff Jarrett, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, get his thoughts about Game Changer Wrestling and more right here on this edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. Glad you're with us here for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. I'm Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for being with us. We turn now to a WWE Hall of Famer. Check out the My World podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, look for My World with our guest, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, one of the great cornerstones of the Four Horsemen. And Jeff joins us right here on Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. Jonathan Hood, Jeff, thanks so much for your time.
That's what I'm talking about. A pillar, a cornerstone
That's right.
of the Four Horsemen. Also a rabid fan of the number one seed in the AFC, but we won't talk about some real touchy stuff in Chicago Bearland, Chicagoland. But as I've heard recently, there's a lot of things that politics and the Chicago Bears have in common.
Yeah.
It's something that about every 4 years we get a new president, and about every 4 years the Chicago Bears get a new head coach. So all in fun. The Titans are on the roll, and Jay Hood, if you want to get it out of the way right now, just say, hey Jeff, congrats on your Super Bowl win.
Oh.
That way you could run this for the next 12 months. And hey, I had WWE Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion, number one fan, however you want to title me, cornerstone of the Four Horsemen.
That's right.
My World co-host. I'm kidding, bud. I appreciate you having me on this morning. Happy Tuesday.
Well, happy Tuesday to you. And boy, it was something, man. We knew that Bears change was going to happen. We just didn't know when. Matt Nagy, the head coach, and the general manager, Ryan Pace, is fired. Here's what's happened with your Titans now, Jeff. You know what's happened. I mean, now everyone wants to be the Titans because there's sustained momentum. You can always expect the Titans to be in the playoffs. You're coached by Mike Vrabel, good front office. Now you're the envy of the eye of so many teams that people want to beat Tennessee.
Who would have thought? But no, it's funny how in life, whether it's, things just like our foundations, and pardon the use of the term so many times already, but really, when you look at successful league, whether it's a college football program coming off the national championship last night, or if you look at the pros with Belichick and stuff like that, or a wrestling organization, or like you said, it doesn't matter. Any kind of foundation of a business, to me, it all starts with the two guys that you guys are replacing. John Robinson came into Tennessee several years ago, and look, you can have the greatest coach and some really great players, but if you don't have that ability, because life happens in the NFL, that is injuries. Injuries are going to happen, and those guys, man, had to duck and dodge COVID this year and all that kind of mess. But the Tennessee Titans, I think the stat that I think is kind of surreal, and it's something that I think the city here in Nashville takes a lot of pride in. is how many players we played this year. And, you take a guy like Derrick Henry, he's a generational talent, but when he's out 7, 8, 9 games, and the Titans keep winning and find a way to win, and then this guy goes down, and this receiver, and all the pieces of the puzzle, and they just kept plugging in players in the process and the culture. Look at Belichick. He had the greatest run of ever with Brady, and now he's got Mac, and, they didn't look great this weekend, but they're in the playoffs, so culture, and it's just so hard in the NFL, a league imperative. But, man, you guys have had a rough go. I'm near and dear to my heart. I got to know Steve Mongo McMichael, a part of that huge 80s team. And so I've always been I'll call it a quiet fan of the Bears. But, man, you guys have had a little rough time here in the last couple of years, to say the least.
A little rough time, like 40 years since Ditka. So, but a little, you're right, Jeff, a little bit. I want to talk to you about this new person I saw on my TV that will be coming into town at the Grand Sports Arena in Hoffman Estates for Game Changer Wrestling on January 15th. I saw a man named looks to me like Game Changer Jeff Jarrett. That guy looks ominous and he looks scary. Can you tell me about Game Changer Jeff? And we're going to see him come into town January 15th. I saw that music video. Jeff, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not sure what to expect from him. Do you?
No, I'm not. But I'll tell you what, that, to get my cheap plug in, but it's completely reality-based. On my podcast, My World, it has been a lot of fun, at times therapeutic, at times it brings up fun feelings. Candidly, there's some feelings that I dive into and go back and retell stories and, have a little anger and resentment. Why did this happen and why did that happen? But at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason. And as I walk into Chicago this weekend, there's a lot of, I guess you could say, the sum total of our parts is who we are. When I look at the landscape of the industry, and I'm talking, you bring it all in, WWE, AEW, and both of those promotions are very strong in the Chicagoland market. And look, going back 30, 40 years ago, it was the Vern Gagne market. But one thing that is sort of tried and true is the very basic of this business. And I think a lot of guys today, Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, the guys come in and think they are the greatest things in sliced bread. They're the new and this and that. They've revolutionized this and done that. When in reality, I look back over my 35-year career, and there just comes a time and place. Some folks are referring to me as the last outlaw, and maybe that's the voice that I'm going to have. I'm not exactly sure the message I'm going to deliver Saturday, but it will be a message, and that's sort of my mindset. I'm not even completely clear. Conrad has asked me on the air on the podcast, and he's asked me a number of times off the air, like, what is it? And I said, I've got a mission statement, but it will be slowly revealed.
Yes, I'm very interested. This is going to be at the Grand Sports Arena in Hoffman Estates on January 15th. I'm very intrigued to see Game Changer Jeff Jarrett because, Jeff, you've always been able to speak your mind. You've always been flashy. You've always been in your face. But this guy here, the look in his eye in that video told me that that's someone that's totally different and somewhat dangerous, quite frankly. So I don't know what's going to happen with Game Changer Jeff Jarrett, but it's going to be very intriguing. And even you don't know, which is also even scary. So
that is what, at this stage of my career, I'm super excited because, look, I've, you go back every stage of my career, I at least had a plan and was ready with a backup plan, and a lot of times a backup of a backup plan. That's not this Jeff at all. I am going in there and going to speak my mind, and again, doing my podcast, and you look at, I'll call it candidly, all the mileage that I've gone through, traveling around the world, back to the territory days, and, during the Attitude Era, back and forth to both organizations, founding TNA, stepping into 2 Hall of Fames. You referred to it earlier as Game Changer Jeff. That's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing evolves.
What are the similarities in All Elite Wrestling and what you did with Total Non-Stop Wrestling? Anything that seems the same to you based on how Tony Khan's doing business and how you did business?
Well, and look, I recently read this. It wasn't even a blog. It was a pretty lengthy article on Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Coca-Cola and other, soft drink brands through the years. And I'm talking Sprite, Dr. Pepper, and Mountain Dew, and anything in that soft drink category. WWE were the first in the space. No matter how you slice it and dice it. When cable television exploded, Vince McMahon was a visionary and thought ahead of the game. There were other guys who had the opportunities. Candidly, my father's era of generation, a lot of territory promoters, they didn't seize the opportunity. So Vince got into the space, and so it's like Kleenex is a brand name for tissues. Coca-Cola is a brand name for soft drinks that is just so far ahead and above, and everything else is secondary. Well, there's a lot of money to be made in number two. Avis, we try harder. Look at the amount of space that they have in the market, and they're the number two. Well, AEW is the alternative, and that is exactly what TNA was at a different time, at a different place. Look, when we launched TNA, there was no social media. That is pardon the pun, a game changer. The world we live in today affects and is streamed and is digested. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. You could go on and on about the way folks consume their media. The largest network in the world, at one time was NBC, then CBS, then Fox. Then you get into the big streaming conglomerates in the world right now. Candidly, YouTube there is not even a close second. They're the biggest network in the world, and that's how this generation consumes not just their entertainment, but content. And so AEW stepping into the marketplace, they are the alternative. And so there is a enormous similarity. That's what we were, getting on Spike TV and having to run there. But the alternative, and I think in today's market, and as we've launched into 2022, the space is wide open. I believe there's many opportunities, whether it's New Japan, whether it's AAA out of Mexico, Game Changer Wrestling out of Jersey. There's a lot of opportunities for other, just because the way we consume things, I like to say it's the Apple Wallet generation that you literally can, in your phone, not only can you watch programming, you can buy programming, and then you can buy a T-shirt, and then after you buy your T-shirt, you can buy a subscription service. So it's just a completely different world we live in. But at the end of the day, you drill it right down, AEW is the alternative to WWE.
Jeff Jarrett will be in town in Chicagoland at Hoffman Estates at the Grand Sports Arena January 15th for Game Changer Wrestling. Go to gcwmerch.com. I want to talk to you a little bit about your podcast, too, because I'm a fan. I'm a day one guy from my world with Jeff Jarrett. I was very interested in it. And I will tell you, you know what? I don't think you're granular enough. I'll tell you, because you tell me if I'm wrong. Because you've done so much media and you've done so many interviews, especially with radio shows like this one. Jeff, I really believe that when you first started, you thought, man, there's just way too much detail. Isn't this like radio? Don't we have commercials? Do I have to give so much detail? And then I think it clicked at some point that it's a podcast that you can talk as long as you want because we all love it as fans because we see the business now through your eyes. So you can go even longer if you wanted to. What was the change for you where it clicked and you said, boy, this podcast is different than radio or TV shows?
Jay, just hearing those words come out of your mouth, the immediately thing that came to my mind is there are light bulbs that continue to go off because Conrad was like, hey man, let it rip. And you're right. I am born and raised in literally talking in, you have 3 minutes, you have 1 minute, you have 30 seconds. Oh, no, okay, you can talk a little bit, then ring. You got to be under, X amount of time. Podcast, just let it rip. And Conrad continued to stress that. But so I was completely, that was the obvious. But getting into stories, a lot of times, especially in the early days, and it's funny you mentioned it, after we got done, I'm like, oh, Conrad, I was going to say this, man, it really goes down a rabbit hole. He goes, that's the point. Go down that rabbit hole. And so, it's the ebb and flow and hitting the stride. And look, we do have somewhat of a time limit. I'm very respectful, and it fascinates me. If somebody is going to sit down and dive into my world, and now I'm more and more understanding that some folks will listen to, when they get in the car, they got 20 minutes, they'll listen to it, push pause, they're going to come back to it that night or that afternoon. So it's sort of an ongoing consumption rate, and everyone is different. So the clicking still goes off in my brain that I'm each podcast is complete. To me, that is one of the very top things I love. Each podcast is really different because it's a different era and it's a different time, and we like to have what if this would have happened and what if that, but this is really what happened, and here's the story behind the story. And Conrad, you're going to like this because not only is this the story behind the story, but this is actually the story behind that story. And those are fun to tell. Mm-hmm. And it's look, I was a wrestling fan long before I was a promoter or a wrestler. So it's a lot of fun digging in and, as we say, get granular into these stories.
You're not granular enough. I want more. I want even more because I think these stories have been great, Jeff. You're doing a great job with this show. I'm so glad you guys spent so much time in our land of Lincoln, in our state, working with the Springfield Sliders. You're working with the minor league baseball team. That was a great surprise.
I cannot wait to get started. Opening day is coming up in early June. We just came out with the schedule, and obviously they didn't bring me on board to evaluate balls and strikes and hits and all that kind of stuff. I'm a third generation promoter, so we're going to have not only at the ball games, but also some, we'll call it non-traditional entertainment. When the Sliders, we're going through that whole process of rebranding, but when they're on the road, we're still going to have events at the ballpark. So you folks in the Chicagoland area, Springfield's just a short drive away, man, we're going to have a lot of fun with that. There's going to be some amazing announcement coming up in the next, we'll say 90 days, and you can follow my social media to get all the information. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate you bringing that up. Who would have thought Double J being a minor league baseball owner? I damn sure didn't.
I didn't think so either, but it was great. I think that's really cool, man. So this is how you take advantage as a host, right? I'm going to take my liberty to ask a question I can never get answered on My World. I can never get answered on ad-free shows, but I'm going to get it now because I got Double J with me. So, Jeff, I'll ask the question I've been submitting for a while now to My World, so I'll ask you now. So the question I keep asking that I never get answered is, did your dad, a longtime promoter, Jarrett and Jerry Lawler, ever give consideration to putting Memphis wrestling in syndication? You grew up with it. I grew up with it as well as a 70s, 80s wrestling fan where you had syndication from World Class in Florida, Georgia, the Mid-Atlantic, Portland, everywhere else. I'm wondering, was there ever consideration of having Memphis wrestling syndicated?
And I will take the liberty of saying, this is only my opinion, but look, I've had conversations with them. They were so micro-focused on Saturday morning, Memphis, Tennessee. It's a lean and mean organization. There wasn't a big staff and a big office. Very, very bookkeeper, accountant, bookers and all that. But they were so micro-focused and laser-focused on putting out a great product on Saturday mornings. Not until the late 80s, did the syndication conversation come up. Matter of fact, there's a lot of master tapes that were redubbed over in the mid-'80s, so the masters don't even exist. So to answer your question, if the masters weren't really kept, they certainly weren't in the syndication. But there are so many folks that come up to me, literally all across the country and across North America, that got VCR tapes and different Memphis episodes. That studio setting was fascinating, and I will concur with you. I think it would have made a fascinating syndicated product, but it just never. It was Nashville, Memphis live, Louisville, Evansville, and some other southern markets, but no, it was never in syndication in its heyday, so to speak.
Jeff, lastly, and I appreciate your time. If it wasn't for your podcast, I would know nothing about Fight TVs and this whole Pick a Fight thing. This is actually a good idea because now as a fan, if I have some downtime, I can go to Fight TV and just pick a show that I want to watch. And it's not quite the territory days, but at least I have the option to go to wherever in the world to watch wrestling. So can you tell everybody about Pick a Fight on Fight TV? Because I think it's a fascinating innovation.
Yeah, and it's FITE, not FIGA, FITE. TV.com, or the easiest way is download the app. And man, it's incredible. They have boxing, MMA, and of course professional wrestling. But it is candidly a one-stop shop. And, I've worked with them literally since day one, back in 2014, 2015, and we've collaborated. And I said, look, again, to be, I said this earlier in the interview, I was a fan first, and when something catches my eye, I've told them over the last 3, 4, 5 years, man, we've got to get this out to the world. And so we've collaborated and come up with a promotion, and it's #PickAFight, PickAFight. Check us out, check us on social media, and I'm going to sort of give if I'm going to sit down and watch something, and the thing is, it's video on demand, so you can watch it at any time. But this Saturday, Game Changer Wrestling, the event that I'm coming into Chicago, it will be the Pick-a-Fight. It will be on this Saturday. And look, it's not the MMA world that just came out, all those prices, $69, $79, $89 pay-per-view. Game Changer Wrestling and other of the fights that I picked, Impact this weekend was $30. I think this weekend is $20. So look, it's very economical, but check out Fight. Pick-a-Fight is the promotion we have going on, and you just go to my social media. Everything's real simple. It's @RealJeffJarrett. Click on that link, and I like to say the simplest thing is, as you get going, it's like frequent flyer miles. You buy something for $20, Fight puts it into your account. You're going to get a couple of $5, and before you know it, you'll be getting events for free. It's really a cool program, a cool product, and it is the best technology in the streaming world today.
Well, Jeff, just like me, and I know you're like this too, you're a praying man, so please pray for our Bears. Pray for our Bears that we can get it done.
Yeah, but I'll say this. Prayer is only one component. You got to take a little action. So get you a damn general manager.
We'll take all the prayers that we can get to get the right GM and the right head coach, Jeff. This is not going well, but you know what? Change is a coming. I'm all for that.
Jay Hood, just give me one last thing before we close this out.
Oh, sure.
We'll tighten up because you need to support the Titans to this playoff.
Well, I guess you know what? Because my Bears are not in it, I will fully support one of the founding cornerstones of the Four Horsemen. You tell Conrad, you tell Conrad J. Hood from ESPN Chicago says one of the great Four Horsemen. I will support his team and his run with the Horsemen. That's exactly what I'll do. So I'll tighten up. That's what I'll do.
I love it, my man. I appreciate your time today. Anybody listen to this, come on out Saturday night. Hoffman Estates, check it out. But very, very, very much appreciate. And look, let's don't be strangers. I'd love to come on again.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming on with us on ESPN Chicago.
Have a good day, my man.
Great to talk to Jeff Jarrett. He's going to be at Game Changer Wrestling on January 15th. Game Changer is going to be at the Grand Sports Arena. This might be the first time that they've run a wrestling event, as far as I can tell, at Hoffman Estates. And we're going to see Game Changer Jeff Jarrett. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to expect, but we will see Jeff Jarrett there. And it's also part of Fight TV, as Jeff mentioned. All right, I'm glad you spent some time with me here for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. Don't forget our youtube.com. Look for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. And, of course, the podcast. Wherever you download this podcast, just share it. Tell people that Jonathan Hood Talks Wrestling, Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday, and merchandise. Man, I'm so proud of the success that we've had so far here in 2022. The T-shirts, the tumblers, the sweatshirts, the hoodies, everything that we've had. Thank you so much for supporting it. And, again, check out the Under the Hood merchandise right there on my link tree. The link is right there on my Facebook. It's on my Twitter. It's on my Instagram as well. We just appreciate you supporting the show and checking out Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. All right, thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to send me a message. Give me your thoughts on our conversation with Jeff Jarrett and all the things that's happening in the world of professional wrestling / sports entertainment. Thanks for listening to Tuesday or Wrestling Tuesday.